Hi, Pam. How are you?
Hi. Thank you.
You know what? Before we talk about the show coming up this Saturday at Prairie Knights, Pam,
Yes.
let's go back in history. I want to know, who was the first record company executive type who looked at you and said, oh, my God, this just isn't Mel's kid. This girl can really sing. Who was that?
That's a great question. Jimmy Bowen. Who was also working with Dad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimmy Bowen had worked with, oh, my gosh, so many great pop acts, Frank Sinatra, just so many people, and he was an L.A. producer, and he came to Nashville, and he was kind of responsible for revolutionizing country music the way we make records back in the early 80s, believe it or not.
You're talking about the actual technical part of the
process.
process.
Yeah, the technical part of it, and and he started working with Hank Williams Jr. and Dad and some other people, and just a whole bunch of people, and he really kind of ushered in a modern era in country. And so he was working with Dad at the time, and you know, he just Dad played him some demos that I had sung for him, and Jimmy's like, yeah, wow, let's develop this. This is fantastic, and she could really be something, and he saw it, and I look back now, and I'm always kind of, you know, grateful for that encouragement. Somebody that really said she could be, you know, professional. She could do this.
The thing that I like about your music, it's your believability that I really I'm just fascinated with. I mean, you sound like someone who's lived pretty much everything you've sung, whether it's Mi Vida Loca, maybe it was Memphis, Spilled Perfume. There's that believability there and that authenticity. Pardon me for using a 25-cent word, but how are you able to master your instrument and the material at the same time?
I do believe that if you can't feel every word you're singing, you can't make anybody else feel it. You've got to do that. You're not singing the phone book. You know, the writers. You know, if you wrote the song, chances are you've lived it in some way. Or if the songwriter, they picked every word of that song for a reason. If it's a good song.
Yeah.
And you've got to do justice to every single word.
Maybe this has already happened, but if you had to give one piece of advice to the Carrie Underwoods and Miranda Lamberts of the world, you know, being that you've experienced a lot in this industry, what would your words of advice be to these young girls who are right now at the peak of their careers?
Be careful how you spend your money. Know where it's going.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, when they're making so much money, it's so crazy. A lot of times you'll be so busy that it's hard to know who, you know, what check is going where, and you might have a bunch of, you know, a lot of times there'll be, you know, people on the payroll that it's just amazing how big your payroll can get real fast. And Daddy, it's funny, Daddy, I won't name the name, but Dad did a show in our hometown recently with a young artist, and he said to me, he goes, he had 5 buses. and here my dad has sold, you know, just had this 50-plus year career and played for presidents and won every major award you can win. And my dad has his, you know, 11-piece band in one bus or 2 buses max. And he was just amazed that this kid was having this kind of overhead. And he's like, man, I hope somebody will set him straight. You know, my dad's, that kind of career is really rare, and most of the careers nowadays don't last that long. So well, you better save your money while you can.
Now, has he got his own wing in the Hall of Fame by now? Or...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I got so long-winded on that answer.
Oh, no.
I kind of get passionate about it. I am the Sue Zorman of country music.
Oh, no, that's good. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was talking to Lorrie. Lorrie called earlier promoting the tour, and she mentioned that this particular show that you're going to be doing at Prairie Knights is pretty much a rather lean and mean type of show, insofar as that there isn't a whole lot of lavish sets involved with it, and there's not just a whole lot of extraneous production. It's basically 2 women getting out on stage and just singing themselves crazy.
Yeah, well, you know, some of that is, I guess you could say, budget. But you know what? Not all of it. I think it's a production choice too, to keep it down to earth and keep it real. And it isn't about production. It's about the stories, and it's about the songs.
Well, let's talk about how this all got put together. I understand this was kind of your brainchild, dating back to a previous, you and Lorrie, I guess, go back just a long time.
We do. I can't take total credit for it.
Okay.
My husband, who helps, run my company, he suggested that it was a good time in my career to do some kind of package, that it's a way of keeping the show fresh, and you always want to give your fans the most bang for the buck, that you want, tickets and going out anymore is expensive, and you just want to give them everything you can. And so we were kicking around different package ideas, and anyway, I went out to the Opry one night, and Lorrie was singing, and it's like, oh gosh, she's great, and we'd worked together before, and the light bulb just came on. It's like, man, we should just do that again. And so I suggested lunch, and we went out and talked, and looked at our schedules, and she said, yeah, I think it'll work. And we've been going. This is going on our third year, and to tell you the truth, the first time we did it, the first time we toured back in the mid-'90s, we did it differently. One person would open one night, one person would open the next night, and we really didn't. We sang one song at the end, and we were on separate buses, and then we went our separate ways, and we didn't even really get to bond. And it was a real high-pressure time in our careers, and I think we were both so busy we didn't know what end was up. And this time around, it's a real team effort. And I've got her back in the show, and she's got mine. And if somebody's got a little sore throat or somebody's energy's a little low, we do our best to always, raise each other up. And it's just so much fun.